I'd like for us to start off with the latest directives on COVID-19. What are your thoughts on the easing of restrictions?
First and foremost is to appreciate the fact that this is now 6 months into the pandemic. There is a lot that we have learned over the last 6 months. We've equally seen a lot that informs the experience that we've had as a country. And where we are, the balance, of course, since when COVID was declared in our country was between our lives and the livelihoods. And then the balance is tipping more towards the livelihoods, of course, with the reduced infections. And so the restrictions had been eased off right from the start throughout from July up until now. And so we are still on the right path with regards to easing of restrictions.
All right, and hand in hand with that, what is your assessment on how medical practitioners have been attended to during the pandemic?
Well, there have been efforts to take care of the medical practitioners, the doctors, the nurses, clinical officers, and other healthcare workers. But there is more that needs to be done. Of course, there's a lot of burnout, there's a lot of, trauma psychologically. And essentially, the position at which we are in is most healthcare workers feel there is still more that needs to be done, and that is not being done with regards to appreciating. We welcome those incentives that have been given. The issue of compensation is yet to be fully addressed for the health workers. There's still areas where we're struggling with adequate and quality personal protective equipment. And of course, the whole issue of graft and corruption in the whole COVID response played a very big role in the morale of healthcare workers, because on one end, we have been struggling to get things done, and then on the other end, you're seeing graft, permeating through this response. So healthcare workers have tried their best, but they still need more to feel that they're appreciated for the work that they've done and for the country.
All right, and with that said, Daktari, could you kindly expound for us what are the grievances at the Kenyatta National Hospital?
The issue at Kenyatta National Hospital is a bit straightforward. In 2012, the State Corporations Advisory Committee recategorized Kenyatta National Hospital to category 7A from 3C, and that also meant that the salaries were going to be categorized. It being straightforward is that this has stayed on for long, but in the last 1 to 2 years, there has been budgetary allocation, and it has gone through all the processes from Parliament approval to the National Treasury and finally to disbursement to Kenyatta National Hospital to pay the workers all the way from the top management downwards to all workers as per that category. Then in September, early September, that is early this month, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission issued a letter that directed against payment of these salary increments. And that is the bone of contention, because the monies are there to pay, but the obstacle has now become the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. And that is why, after several efforts of talks and meetings, SRC is still stuck to its position, and that's what led to the current impasse that we're seeing.
So you have reached out to the SRC, but to no avail?
Ideally, we are not supposed to engage the SRC, and that's the reality. We're supposed to engage as unions and the employers. And once we have an agreement on what we have agreed upon, the only thing that SRC is supposed to do is give concurrence. But SRC has of late been overstepping its mandate by now being the ones who have the final say. So you may negotiate, but once you negotiate, SRC will still come and say, no, this is not possible. Even if in this case, like international hospital, that has shown that they're able to actually sustain this increment of salaries. And with that, then, it makes SRC now being a negotiator on the back end, and that is where the biggest obstacle currently is.
Okay, so Daktari, as we wind up, what is your position as KMPDU on how to resolve this particular dispute?
The issue, monies are there, the salary increments are known, And so the only thing is for payment of those allowance, of those new salaries as per what was agreed upon. That's the only thing. It's very straightforward. So if there's any delay, if there's no payment, then it is subject to SRC being the obstacle. And that's why we're not talking about fresh budgetary processes where you have to start making a budget and then take it to Parliament for approval. We're not talking about that. We're talking about monies that are available to pay, and SRC giving that concurrence to pay the monies that are already there, budgeted for.